And welcome back to KTN News Desk. I'm Michael Karanja. Now, these attacks, the sustained attacks on Kenya have a very big impact, especially on the economic front. And I'm now joined by Alistair Gould, who's the CEO of African Alliance, from our town studio. Alistair, if you can hear me, since early 2011, we have had sustained attacks in Kenya. As part of the investment community, what does that do, especially just in ensuring that there's credibility as Kenya as a conducive market to invest in?
Okay. Well, thanks, Mike. The long-term prospects of Kenya as an investment destination still largely remain very positive. Yeah. And most of the investment community has taken a long-term view in their investments. So despite the attacks that we've seen over the past 2 years, there hasn't been a very significant impact on the markets or on our currency. However, if these attacks continue for a long period of time and look like that the government is not able to control them, then we can possibly see an impact. I think investors are more concerned, and savvy investors at that, are more concerned with the long term of the country that they're investing in. And we only saw maybe a dip in our markets back in 2008 when there was political instability around the election. But currently, we're not seeing that around the security situation. I can't say for how long.
Yeah, but when you look at the economy as a whole, we look at the tourism sector. It's the dip in that sector has been greatly linked to the kind of insecurity within the country. If tourism wasn't that affected, perhaps is there any other sector that might go the same route that tourism has gone?
Okay, I mean, you're very correct. The tourism has suffered and will continue to suffer for the foreseeable future. And that has been a significant contributor to our GDP. Other sectors that could suffer is the nascent oil and gas sector, because, exactly. I mean, a lot of these terrorist attacks are currently happening in northern Kenya, in Mandera, Garissa, and that's really where a lot of the oil finds are. So if investors cannot access those areas due to worries about security or due to continued attacks, then we could end up seeing that particular find just evaporate.
Yeah, and you know, investment is just not linked to Nairobi alone, but if looking at someone who wanted to invest in the north of Kenya, what then would they be looking at? I know most people are long-term, or take a long-term view, but what if you wanted to go into the north of Kenya? How then does this repeated kind of incidences then impact your thinking when it comes to investment in Kenya as a whole?
Well, definitely for someone who has been looking there in the recent past, they would shy away given what we've been seeing and the increasing frequency. I mean, last night's attack just came about a week and a few days after the previous attack in Mandera. So, and we keep hearing of small sporadic attacks in Wajir. So those kind of things would deter any investor who's looking to set up shop there, because the risk is really too high. Yeah. Even if returns were above normal, you would just rather invest somewhere else where there is more security. I think the government really needs to come in and be very clear around what they're doing around security, both in the north and at the coast, because those seem to be our weak spots.
Alistair, you bring in a very pertinent issue, because our analyst here, Mbiji, was just talking about government needs to come out strongly and just kind of stem this thing. What kind of government reassurance can markets get to just tell us that everything is on course and that the long-term view for Kenya remains sound?
Well, I mean, they just need to reaffirm their commitment to securing our borders. I think the biggest challenge up north has been our porous borders. So something must be done around that. And beyond speaking now, we need to see action from the government. We've had a lot of incidences. They keep coming back with statements, but we want confidence. We want to be confident in the government's ability to control this. They need to deploy the necessary resources, especially in those troubled areas, but without compromising our financial centers and the key cities, because that could be a tactic to draw out most of our security from the middle part of Kenya to those weak areas. And we just hope that's not the case. But the government must act, and they must act soon.
Yeah, and I was just looking at our Reuters feed, and shilling opened at about 90 shillings 30 cents, 40 against the dollar, and that was actually a significant dip from yesterday. Is this isolated, or is this just market reacting to the news that was coming out today?
Well, I wouldn't say that the shilling has reacted to the terrorist attack. It's more of an issue of liquidity that's been in the market. We've seen the Kenya shilling above 90 for quite a while now. It hasn't weakened significantly. I mean, today, yes, it did touch 90.35 at some point, but it's right now trading about 90.20. So comfortable at those levels. But given the current liquidity and the fact that the central bank needs to mop this up a little bit, yeah, it's likely that we'll see it trading in this range, but the shilling has not been significantly impacted by the security threat that we're facing. It's more of just the fact that there has been end-month demand, there has been lower inflows from the tourism sector. So I wouldn't say that today's weakness is attributable to last night's attack.
All right, thank you very much, Alistair Gould, CEO of African Alliance, who's just telling us more about how the markets, what the government needs to do just to reassure investor confidence in the long run. Betty Kialo, what's happening on the sports front?